Welcome, everyone, to Silicon Slopes Live. Today we have such an incredible guest. Two guests. We are joined by Shawn Goff, the office managing partner of Ernst & Young Salt Lake City office, and the program co-director of EY's Entrepreneur of the Year program. I'm obsessed with Provo. So Provo is in like every word, every sentence these days. And, of course, we have Jason McGowan, the founder and CEO of Crumbl Cookies. Probably the most incredible consumer business to come out of Utah that I can think of. It's unbelievable, the growth of this thing. Jason was also the 2023 Entrepreneur of the Year Mountain West Region Award winner and one of the 2023 Entrepreneur of the Year National Award winners, the first from the Mountain West. We've been doing this with you, Shawn, for a long time now.
Yeah.
Since 2016, Silicon Slopes has been a partner of Ernst & Young. Shawn, tell us about the program this year, how things are going.
Yeah, so we're just kicking off the 2024 program, Clint. Obviously 2023 was a huge success for us, and we're happy to have Jason not only as a regional winner, but also as a national winner, as you just mentioned. And we also had a national finalist. Providence was a national finalist as well in the 2023 program. But maybe just a little bit about the program. Would that be helpful, Clint?
Yeah, that'd be super.
Yeah, so I can tell you a little bit about it. So the Entrepreneur of the Year program is a global awards program that celebrates entrepreneurs around the world. And there are 17 U.S. programs across the country, and then another 145 programs around the globe. And the program's been in existence for 38 years. So this is our 38th year of the program. And we will, of those 17 regional programs, they'll nominate or recognize 200 entrepreneurs across the U.S., and those then go on to compete at national in the fall, which, as we just mentioned, Jason was a winner at national this last year. And we will have, in our region, the Mountain West region specifically covers off on Colorado, Utah, Washington, Oregon, Alaska, so kind of in the Mountain West area. And we usually have about 40 nominees from Utah and then about 80 from the Mountain West region. This past year, as I mentioned, was a great year for Utah. We had, of the 15 companies that were recognized in 2023, 8 of them were from Utah, which is amazing.
That is amazing.
Way more than our share. And it's just a great program that recognizes entrepreneurs and the contributions they're making to our community, to our economy here locally. And it's it's way more fun than my day job, right? Recognizing entrepreneurs.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're 8 years into this, and it's always fun to talk about the past and have the past winners on. But then a big part of this is talking about the future, because as we know, a lot changes in a year for everyone, in particular entrepreneurs. There should be a lot of people that should do this, right? Can you give an explanation and some guidance on who should apply, why they should apply, and what caveats or restrictions there might be?
Yeah, happy to share a little bit about that. Really, there's not a lot of qualifications to be a nominee for the Entrepreneur of the Year program. So the first is that you're the CEO or the equivalent role at your company. So running the day-to-day operations of the company. They need to have been in that role for just 2 years. And obviously the company needs to be around for 2 years as well. And really, the winners are selected by an independent panel of judges. So they're not selected by EY. And that panel of judges is made up of other CEOs, so peers, founders, and really most of them are former winners of the program. And they're certainly financial performance is an important part of what they're looking at, but it's really there's more judging criteria than just financial performance. They're also looking for entrepreneurial spirit, how they're making changes, what management team they've built. The judges really like to hear about their story. Why was the company started? What were you trying to accomplish? What problem were you trying to solve? Judges like to hear about challenges that these companies have overcome. Every entrepreneur usually has some story of, how they barely made payroll or something like that, and how they overcame it. And those stories really resonate with the judges because, again, they're former winners of the program. They're founders and CEOs, and they've dealt with those challenges. And so that's a really big part of the program as well. It's just telling the story. And those things resonate with the judges.
Very cool. So low barrier to entry to apply and be a part of this. But it is going to be rigorous, right? Because you're being judged by folks that know a thing or two.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a competition, right? This is not just to put your name in the hat and get recognized. This is a competition that requires some work on behalf of the entrepreneur. They need to fill out an application that includes just general information about the company. It also includes financial information for the last couple of years. They will also go through an interview that's conducted by a partner, an executive from EY. They'll have to write some short essays about their business and what makes their business unique or important and what they're trying to accomplish. And then they'll also, if they're named a finalist, they'll be interviewed by the judges. And it also involves attending some events. We have a nominee event. As I mentioned, there's an on-site interview that's conducted. We also have the award celebration every year that happens. This last year, we held it at Stein Erikson Lodge up in Deer Valley, which is amazing. This year, we're hosting the celebration at the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs. So the idea being that we're going to rotate where we have the award celebration around the Mountain West region. It's kind of a destination celebration.
Yeah. And reading between the lines there, if you're an entrepreneur, win, lose, or draw, this is going to be wildly beneficial.
Yeah, I think that the program, or certainly what I hear, I guess is probably a better way to say it from people that have participated in the program in the past, is they really appreciate the opportunity, number one, to take a step back and to consider what they've accomplished, celebrate with their teams, use this as an opportunity to celebrate with the teams. Obviously, the award is for the entrepreneur. That's who we're naming as a winner, not necessarily the company. But if the entrepreneur uses it correctly and the CEO uses it correctly, I think it's a real opportunity to take a step back and celebrate with the key members of their team that have helped them accomplish their goals. And then also, it's an opportunity to rub shoulders and network with other entrepreneurs and CEOs in the market. And certainly, a CEO can be a lonely world. They're dealing with problems that probably most people that they interact with don't deal with. And so, I think it gives entrepreneurs and these CEOs an opportunity to network and get to know other CEOs that they can bounce ideas off of and really get to know them a little bit. And I think those have been some of the key benefits of participating. And maybe just one more is even just writing the essays and completing the application process gives them an opportunity to step back and think about, what is my story, right? What is my 30-second elevator pitch about what we've accomplished? And that also has been a benefit, I think, for those that have participated.
Yeah, speaking of story, Jason, wow. Crumbl has been an incredible story, and obviously we've had you on the show before and gone through kind of the whole thing in detail. But before we get to like your experience with the EY Entrepreneur of the Year and being that, tell us about Crumbl and this incredible ride you've been on.
Well, thanks, and thanks for having me here today. Crumbl's been such a fun journey and an exciting journey for all of us. You know, we started in 2017, and my partner Sawyer and I, we just wanted to start a little cookie shop. The building that we originally went into was set to be demolished in 6 months, so it showed you how much faith we had in our business back then. But it was really just a side hustle and something that was really, really fun that we wanted to do. And, you know, when Sawyer and I get started, one thing that we both have in common is that when we're going to put our name behind something, we're going to make it the best possible we can make it. And so we opened up our doors. We only had one cookie, which was the chocolate chip cookie, and served it warm and did it through delivery, which at the time DoorDash wasn't really around. And so it was, you know, pretty exciting to have something other than pizza delivered to your house. So a combination with the warm cookie, the size of it, the experience of it, we started getting lines out the door, and it just started taking off from there. So that's kind of the early experience of Crumbl and kind of how it got started.
At what point did the building get demolished, by the way?
It did get demolished. I'm very sad. If I would have known what I know now, I would have definitely tried to purchase the building and purchase the land. But
Where was this?
This is in Logan, Utah.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah, it was in Logan, Utah. It looked like almost like a little barn. And it
Sounds like a sweet building.
Oh, it just so many memories of, you know, I was so cheap early on, and I actually am still today in some ways. But I built the counter myself. I remember going to Home Depot and getting all the materials and building the counter, and I remember thinking, oh, I could save $300 or $400, and so those are the early days, you know, of starting something up. Though you don't know if something's going to work. You're super frugal, and you're super focused on just really what matters, which is the product and the experience. But it's just so many fond memories of that building for sure.
Wait, so you go 6 months, it gets demolished. Where do you go after that?
Yeah, it ended up being a little bit longer than 6 months because things take longer. So it
Yeah.
was demolished a little bit longer, but not too much longer. We ended up going to another part of town, and it was great. Yeah, so it was good.
Yeah, you know what they say: if you can make it in Logan, you can make it anywhere.
That's right.
At what point did you realize, like, hey, we can franchise this thing? Had you
Mhm.
even thought about that? Like, at what point did you even start thinking, like, we can franchise, we can expand, we can go to other parts of Utah? Wait, we can go to anywhere in the United States. Wait, we can go, anywhere in the world. At what point were you thinking, like, all of that?
Well, I think it wasn't just like one magic moment of, aha, this is, everywhere. It was kind of definitely steps, as we got going, there was the sentiment of, well, this is great. This is a cookie shop that's great for Logan because it's such a college town and only college people will eat cookies apparently. And then it was, oh, it's only in Utah. I mean, yeah, we opened a few more stores in Utah and, well, it's only in Utah. It's not going to work. Only people in Utah like sugar.
Did you
which-
take any of that seriously, though, the only in Utah thing? Because it's not surprising that Crumbl came out of Utah.
Yeah, I think about that, and I thought, hey, maybe it could only be in Utah. There are some things, but I think as an entrepreneur, you're going to get a lot of unhelpful advice from lots of people,
Yeah,
and you're going to get a lot of, I think what makes an entrepreneur is someone who says, yeah, but, right? Like, yes, I understand this doesn't make sense. I know this seems crazy, but we're going to give it a try anyways. And so for me, whenever I heard of it's not going to work because of X, it almost just, made me even more curious of, well, is it going to work outside of Utah? Is it going to work outside of college towns? And I remember in addition to outside of Utah, there was one sentiment of like, oh, these are warm cookies. They'll only do good in cold climates. Was another,
Interesting.
reason why this is not going to work anywhere else.
People only eat cookies.
Yeah.
And
So, my
the cold.
personality is like, Viva Las Vegas, here we come.
Yeah.
We're going to go to Vegas. We're going to test it outside of Utah. We're going to test it in the hottest climate, and we're going to see what happens. And, of course, all those things ended up not being true whatsoever. But, as an entrepreneur, those are the things that you've got to go through and try to prove everyone wrong and prove sometimes yourself wrong.
Yeah, it turns out sugar is scalable.
Yeah, it's true. People
like sugar everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look back, hindsight's like 2020, so you're like, of course, soda sells everywhere in the United States, and sugar sells everywhere outside the world. But of course, you just have these paradigms and thoughts that people have, and they just turned out to be wrong. So luckily for us.
So at what point did you start franchising?
Well, franchising was born out of not as a way to like dominate and grow the market. Originally, when we first got started, Sawyer's mom was going to get into the business, and his dad was a little bit nervous about her spending all of her time and working on a bakery, and is it going to make any money? It probably is not, and so I don't know if I want to be a part of this. And so anyway, she decided not to join us early on, and after we opened our second store, her dad called me and said, is there any way we can own a part of this or invest some money or whatever else? She's killing me. Every day she's mad at me. And so I said, well, we got it going. We did it with our own investment, and we didn't really want to have investors at the time. And so that just kind of naturally was, okay, well, that's what you do is you franchise. So it was originally, franchise was set out to just be for our friends and our family. So a few friends in my neighborhood, a few family members that just want to be part of the Crumbl journey. And that's how franchising was born. That's
cool. What was your experience like with EY and winning Entrepreneur of the Year in 2023?
It was absolutely phenomenal. I dramatically underestimated the experience, the amount of work and energy that EY puts into all the events. I mean, there's lunches, there's dinners, there's interview. It's very rigorous. It's very detailed. I remember them coming to my office, and there was a group of, I don't know, it must have been 5 or 6 others, and they're just drilling me on questions. I'm like, oh my goodness, am I going to even like make it anywhere in this thing? But it's because they really care, and they really want a program that when you win something, it means something. And that's kind of what I notice is, and I've won awards and other things before, and it's not really based on a lot of other things other than, oh, Crumbl's cool or your story's cool. But they took the real time to ask tough questions and hardships that we went through and how we handled them and the successes that we had. They did financial audits. I mean, they went through the whole experience of making sure that those that are selected are companies that really are doing great. And so it made my respect level for the EY award and the experience just dramatically increase. And I remember just kept thinking all along, like, who's got the budget for all this stuff? And I don't know, maybe there's some secret there, but they go all out. So even in the national awards, they hold no expense. The experience, the culture, all that stuff has just been phenomenal. I've never been more impressed with an experience and award ceremony ever in my life.
It is unbelievable. It's a first-class organization, first-class event here in the state of Utah and nationally. And it, like you said, it really does mean something. Like, I can't even think of another award where it's like, oh yeah, that, like, where it's immediately, you know, that's a serious entrepreneur, that's a serious leader if they won that award.
Yes.
It's a really big deal.
Yeah, Clint, I think some of that comes from the fact that, again, that the judges, the people deciding who the winners are former winners. And so they have a vested interest in the program. They have a vested interest in protecting the program, for lack of a better way to put it, right? Of making sure that we're only recognizing companies that are deserving of receiving that award.
One more question for Jason here, and then let's tell the viewers how they can get involved and participate in this. At what point did you start to think about supply chain as it pertains to like ingredients?
Well, I think the biggest core thing and decision that we made at Crumbl was also been the hardest thing for a company, which is we decided to do what we call a rotating menu. So, of course, we got started with a chocolate chip cookie. We started adding a bunch of more flavors, and eventually we couldn't offer all the flavors. And that's when the idea of the rotating menu was born, out of necessity of, okay, well, let's rotate the flavors. Let's drop the video on Sunday when people can't buy them and get them really fired up and anxious about it. And so that started happening. Well, when that decision was made, it changed everything in our business, and supply chain was the biggest one. Because a lot of businesses, when you're trying to deal with supply chain, you're trying to find product that's the same every single day. You know, if you're going to a pizza shop, or if you're going to, you know, a chicken sandwich shop or anything like that, the products are all the same. Sure, they have LTOs and a flavorful milkshake or something like that. That's different. But our menu changes every single week. And so because of that, it required a lot of technology, a lot of forecasting and planning, and just a lot of learning along the way. And so supply chain early on was difficult, and then it became extremely difficult during COVID when supply chain became a strain for everyone. And so that caused us to really go through some really hard times, and also some of the best journeys and the best businesses and things we've created because of that. So I think supply chain definitely has been really hard for us. I think we're getting better every day, and we're turning that weakness into a strength for sure.
Very
I'm
cool.
sure you've seen, like, from a marketing perspective, people look forward to the drop. Like, what is, you know, were you thinking about that beforehand? Like, hey, this is going to be like something that people look forward to and want to see, and it becomes kind of like this. It's actually incredible marketing.
Yeah. We didn't see it, I think, from a national scale, because obviously, we only had a few stores, but we did think through the experience deeply of, you know, what day should we drop it? What time of day should we drop it? What should the experience be? And, you know, creating that habit. You know, I come from the technology world where creating digital habits and things like that are very effective in growing your user base. And doing that with cookies and a weekly drop was hugely successful. So, in answer to your question, we did think about the nuances and the details and the marketing experience. As it got bigger and as our company grew across the nation, we didn't anticipate how it would create a nationwide experience for everyone. So that's been kind of an added benefit, and it scaled really, really nicely.
Shawn, you talked a little bit about the companies that could and should apply. Dig a little bit deeper on that one, please, because I've got a bunch in my brain right now, and you know, I usually go and put them in the spreadsheet. But go a little bit deeper for those that are listening. You know, share the website where they can start the journey. Give it the pitch on why they should do it.
Yeah, thanks, Garrett. Yeah, so first off, every year, you know, we're in the middle of the nomination phase right now. We have a couple more weeks to accept nominations, and every year I'm always excited to see what companies are going to come in and the opportunity that we're going to have to get to know them a little bit through the program, through the interview process and through the application process. And I consider myself, right, I'm the office managing partner of EY in Salt Lake City. I consider myself to be pretty connected to the market, but every year, without fail, there are companies that come into the program that I have never heard of before. And that to me is what makes it so exciting and so fun is to learn about a company here in Utah, an entrepreneur here in Utah who's just making a huge difference along the Wasatch Front here. And so I'm excited. I'm super excited to see what companies are going to come in. But in terms of the qualifications, we talked about the three, right, for the CEO, being the CEO, at least in that role for 2 years, the company being around for at least 2 years. But beyond that, there's really not a lot of qualifications. Certainly the judges like to see proof of concept. So there's not really a revenue, floor, I would say. Typically, though, we see that companies that have at least around $10 million get traction with the judges. That's not to say that they wouldn't recognize a company that's below that if the story's compelling enough. And certainly, like a biotech who maybe hasn't started to sell their products, sometimes we see those get recognized below that revenue target. But other than that, private, public, it really doesn't matter. Industry doesn't matter. And really, the process to get started is just to submit an application online. And I think we're going to post how to do that on the Silicon Slopes website. The deadline is March 1st to submit an application for that. And as Jason alluded to, and as I mentioned, there is some work. So you don't want to wait until, it's leap year this year, right? So don't wait till the 29th of February to put it together.
Oh, I didn't realize it was leap year. That's cool.
Yeah. So
extra day.
Because you're going to need some time, right? There's an application, there's financial information that needs to be submitted. There's some essays that need to be written. So definitely, if you're thinking about submitting, or if you know a company that you think would be a good nominee for the program, it's better to get started right away. And you can certainly reach out to EY. We can help with that process and help them focus on what needs to be in the application.
Yeah.
And there were 15 winners from across the Mountain West last year. Jason, obviously, from Crumbl Cookies. I bet the revenue numbers were a little over 10 million. You don't have to comment on
They
that.
definitely were.
Just a little north.
Doug Clements of American Eagle Ready Mix, Cheryl Lee Eberting. Am I saying that? Zoba
Eberting.
Sydney Tetro, who is an incredible leader here in the state of Utah. She was with Brandless at the time. Jeff Gardner and Ryan Gardner of Bucked Up. Mark Hancock and Jason Murray of Providence Group. Scott Gustafson, Marty Weimer, and Stephen Weimer of Spoonful of Comfort. So, I mean, just reading these companies, it's a wide array of industry, of size, of scale. Bucked Up, by the way, that is an incredible business as well. That business is growing like crazy. And in the past, we've had a lot of tech companies. We've had Carl Sun with Lucid. We've had Davis Smith. We count him as a tech company, even though it's a clothing company. Jeremy Andrus with Traeger. We count him too. Traeger's a bit of a tech. You got to have the app and things like that. Zaya Active, Vanessa and Nate Quigley from Chatbooks. And the deadline is March 1st?
March 1st.
That's right. Yeah, I think the one company maybe you missed that was a winner too that maybe people don't know is Win Enterprises, which was Sean Collins and Dave Rudder.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe people don't know that, but their brands are Costa Vida and Fat Cats. So and doing super well, expanding outside of Utah as well with their brands.
Yeah. I have one more question for you, Jason. We were talking a little bit beforehand, and you mentioned it here. I was kind of giving you advice on having your stores open late in markets that might have high cannabis consumption, right?
Right.
But then you mentioned you get a lot of advice along the way.
He's like, I get asked this question all the time.
How do you deal with the advice? And because I assume some of it is good, but a lot of it is bad. Is it a politeness? Is it a curtness? How do you deal with it?
Well, I think generally you like to look at it in a lens of, what's this person's experience that's giving you advice, and what have they been through before. It's kind of a filter.
Dismiss Garrett's out of hand for that filter.
No. His cannabis experience might be strong. Who knows, right? So I think for me is you have to be really open for advice and to understand why someone's giving the advice and what context they're giving it into. I think that's the first, when I'm hearing advice and trying to take, because a lot of there's some reason behind that advice or some thoughts behind that advice. And I think, dismissing things just out of in general is not a great idea. But I think what I've learned, even for me, if someone was to come and ask me for advice for their business, you don't know the nuances of a business. And I think there's a lot of reasons why Crumbl is successful that people don't know about, and a lot of nuances to those reasons. And so they just don't know. And so what they're doing is they're taking their life experience and saying, here's the things that happened to me, and I'm going to give you advice. And just like that for Crumbl, I have a bunch of experiences that are unique to Crumbl. And so, yes, a lot of them are transferable across, but I'd be very nervous to give a lot of direction or, to another business, because you just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know the nuances. You don't know what makes that business tick. And I think some people who have been successful in life are a little bit over. They have a high value in their own ideas, and I think being humble and understanding, businesses are unique or different are important, and not only giving advice but also taking advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whenever Garrett tries to give me advice, I'm just like, shut up, dude.
It is true.
So crazy. All right, so we are going to put all the details on how to apply. We'll put them out, attach them to this episode everywhere we're doing this episode, and put them out in our newsletter, all that type of stuff. Silicon Soaps is a proud partner of the EY Entrepreneurship Program here in the state of Utah. Shawn, Jason, thank you so much for coming in. Seriously, good luck on everything
Pleasure.
this year, Shawn. It's going to be crazy. I really don't know how your team does it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Grace and Teresa deserve all the credit. I just sit here and take it all, right? So they do all the work, and then I come and talk and take all the credit. So
Yeah, shout out to Grace and Teresa.
for sure.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yep.
All right, everybody, check it out. Apply, and we will see everyone tomorrow. That was great, man. How do we do?
Yeah, good.
Great.